Hi everyone! So in my last video, I really enjoyed just kind of talking to you all while I took care of my plants. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about phobias, kind of just what they are in general, where they come from, and how they work in the brain. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please keep on watching. Okay, what do I want to do first? While I repot this, the first thing that I'm going to explain is what exactly a phobia is. So in the DSM, or the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, a phobia is a type of anxiety disorder. So a phobia causes somebody to have an extreme fear of something. A phobia can cause somebody to fear a situation, an event, a living thing, or a place. You can pretty much have a phobia of just about anything in the entire world. And people that have phobias will often shape their entire lives around trying to avoid the thing that they're afraid of. So people with phobias have this imagined threat of what they're scared of, and what they're imagining is always worse than the actual event or thing that they're scared of. And everyone that has a phobia knows that it's completely irrational and it doesn't make any sense, but they absolutely cannot control their response to that fear. So when someone with a phobia is faced with the thing that they're afraid of, it can actually prevent them from functioning normally. And like I said before, they just do everything they can in their power to avoid that fear. A question that I get a lot when I'm talking about my own personal phobia is what's the difference between a phobia and just a fear or being scared of something. The main difference is that a phobia will actually affect the way that you live your life, because like I said earlier, you do everything you can to avoid facing that fear, whereas just being scared of something or fearing something won't really interfere with your day-to-day life. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is where phobias come from. What actually causes a phobia? And unfortunately, there's no one easy answer regarding what causes phobias. Just like pretty much everything else, it varies from person to person. Most phobias usually develop during childhood or early adulthood. It's not impossible to develop a phobia later on in life. It's just not as common. Most of the time, a phobia is caused by a stressful event that has happened, but not always. A phobia can also be learned, like as a child, if one of your parents or somebody else that's significant in your life has a phobia, you are more likely to develop that exact same phobia. Research has also shown that more complex phobias, such as agoraphobia, which is the fear of leaving your house or going outside, and social phobia, have actually been linked to genetics and biology. So these are things that you can actually be born predisposed to. And I read something really interesting when I was researching for this video, and it said that agoraphobia and social phobia could be biologically predisposed because of our ancestors, like a really long time ago, like caveman time, because going outside of your community or your cave or whatever was really dangerous. Other people were dangerous to you and your family, and even now it could just be wired in our brains to feel that way, and some people are just more likely to develop a phobia like that. So most scientists and people that have studied phobias actually believe that most phobias are caused by a combination of learned experience and brain chemistry. So instead of nature versus nurture, it's both nature and nurture. And that kind of brings me to the next point that I want to talk about, which is how phobias actually work in your brain. There's a part of your brain that stores memories and events. And it particularly stores potentially dangerous or deadly events so that next time you're in that situation, you can try to avoid it so you don't get hurt or killed. So then when you face a similar situation later on in life, your brain retrieves that memory and it causes your body to have the same reaction as when you first experienced that event. But with a phobia, that part of your brain that manages stress and fear retrieve that event inappropriately. So research has found that the part of the brain that is mostly linked to phobias is the amygdala. And the amygdala is what controls your fight or flight response. So phobias can actually cause the amygdala to overreact, and this triggers the fight or flight response when someone is faced with their phobia. But a lot of times it just kind of doesn't make sense. You could be in a situation where you're completely safe and everything around you is fine, but if you're reminded of that phobia or the event or thing or whatever that you are scared of, this causes your fight or flight response to go into action, and you can have a panic attack or you get really anxious just from remembering that event or thing or being faced with it. For those of you who may be new to my channel or just haven't seen my previous video where I talk about my phobia, I'll link it in a card up here if you want to go watch that. But I talk about my experience with having emetophobia, which is the fear of vomit. Recently, I've been seeing a therapist and talking to my therapist about this phobia, and right now we're kind of working to find the cause of the phobia, because a lot of people actually remember the specific event that caused their phobia, but I don't. I don't remember anything specific that happened. I just remember always having this fear. But talking to my therapist has actually made me realize a lot of things. I think I've finally figured out what has caused this and how it still affects me today. And I think that now that we kind of know or have an idea of what caused it, we can start to work through changing my thought patterns to something healthier that will hopefully eventually cure the phobia, or at least make it to where I can function in my day-to-day life without being terrified of throwing up all the time. Because it does affect everything I do. Where I go every day, what I eat every day. It's been to the point where, I don't want to leave the house, or I have to leave if we are out somewhere because I get so anxious. Emetophobia is actually one of the most common phobias in people, which I just also recently learned. So if you have a phobia, or you think you might have a phobia, most likely you are not alone at all, because I always thought that I was kind of a freak, because people would say, oh, nobody likes to throw up, or it's not that bad. There are so many other people that feel the exact same way that I do and experience the same things that I do with this phobia. And it really is a terrible thing to have to deal with every day, but I think knowing that other people go through it and having them to kind of talk to and understand exactly how I'm feeling is really helpful. So if you do have a phobia, or you think you might have one, I would highly suggest to Google it. Google what you're afraid of or what you think you have a phobia of, and search through forums, or Reddit is where I found my emetophobia group, and it has been really helpful to talk to other people who understand, and also people that have been through it and been through therapy, and their phobia is not a phobia anymore. It's just something that may be uncomfortable, but they're not absolutely terrified and shaping their entire lives around it. So if you do have a phobia, let me know down in the comments. I would love to start a community of people who just understand, and it could help someone else. If you comment yours, somebody else might come in and say, hey, I have this too, and it could make you both feel a lot better. Alright guys, so that's all I have for today. If you like these kinds of videos where I take care of my plants and talk about mental health topics, therapy topics, please give this video a thumbs up, and comment down below if you have any ideas for videos that you want me to make in the future. Yeah, so I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.